Welcome to another edition of Vigorously with me, Val Kleinhands, where we chat about a number of things, and music is one of them. Today, we got some musicians in the building. Young Fiction is here, specifically Dylan and Gavin are here right now. May have some more guests joining us as we continue, but if not, we'll chat with these two, and that is completely all right. Gentlemen, welcome. So glad that you're here. Instagram is doing its thing because that's how I found you. We were just talking about that.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. No, we're happy about that. So thank you for having us.
And I also want to start off with a personal thank you from a former radio broadcaster, thanking you for showing the world that broadcasting is not an easy job by posting the gag reel from the She's a Grudges Girl video. I was cackling the way that I was cackling. I mean, everything from the fake mustache to pushing the wrong sound effect, which I have done. Like, for real, I was like, oh my God, that video had to be a lot of fun to make. Tell me about that.
Yeah. Gav, do you want to start? You want me to go?
Yeah, yeah, so I guess we had the idea. I forget who had the idea. Maybe Koa did.
I think it was.
Yeah, whose idea was that broadcast intro? Because that was fun.
It had to have been Koa.
Yeah.
He was the creative one. But yeah, so we started with a script and everything, and shout out to our boy Anthony for 102 Productions. He's the one that's pretty much done what the last like 4 or 5 videos for you guys, maybe
Yeah.
more.
Yeah. He's done all our music videos.
I mean, he's been part of Young Fiction since before I've been part of Young Fiction. Like he's been around.
Okay.
But yeah, we went to a local music school. I've been buddies with the owner for a while, and he just gave us free reign, kind of unlocked the doors, and was like, "All right, you guys do what you need to." So that's actually a studio. It's a working studio that we filmed in, and kind of just set up, put fake mustaches on, and mics that weren't plugged into anything, and pretended to be radio hosts for a day.
Who taught you? Because somebody gave you some insider knowledge, I'm sure. Or did you just come up with that off the cuff?
Yeah, I mean, we were kind of method acting. We got into it. I don't think we stopped our characters until we were done with that part of the shoot.
There's still Sonny Sunderson rolling around there somewhere.
He's just... For sure. Whoa.
I feel like that's just part of Gavin, to just that character is like, that's just one of Gavin's like part of his personality. It's just the like whoa guy.
The YouTube comments, the YouTube comments are whoa, like 50% of them. I think
so
are
funny. I don't think I've ever
checked
them.
I've never checked them. Yeah, that's funny.
No, when I was watching them earlier, I was like, well, yeah, that's one of the most quotable things, that the Sonny Sunderson bit. Oh, I love it so much. So your music definitely transports me to, I'm going to date myself, to high school, like in the early 2000s. Blast your shit down the hallway just to contain like my angst as I'm like giving side eye to all the bullies and stuff. Like, it was the pop punk vibe intentional, because that's making a comeback now, and I feel like it's sort of just starting again. Was that always the plan?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up on like Blink-182 was like my all-time favorite, and then from there, obviously, like I branched out to like every kind of that form of like rock where it's like really angsty, like Nirvana, or really like the kind of like emo aesthetic, like My Chemical Romance, or like the real theatric shit, like whatever. So yeah, it was always, I mean, that's like Tom DeLonge from Blink is like my biggest inspiration for picking up a guitar. So I think it just naturally kind of came out that way. I think I just find it really easy to whine into a microphone with power chords. I think it's just an easy kind of way to write. Yeah, I don't, even when people ask like what the band is, I always just say alt rock, because I know that like we write like really like we play stuff live that's like really heavy, that's very like not the kind of like Grudges, it's not like that. We write stuff that's in that same vein as Grudges, or even poppier. Like we kind of just bounce around a lot. So I always just say alt rock, because I don't know that will always be pop punk, but in this kind of current era of it, like, yeah, for sure, it's definitely intentional. It's the way that comes easiest to me growing up on that music. So yeah,
got it. You want room to grow. I think every band wants that. And how do you make sure that you leave that room to grow? Like, do you sort of let your fan base know ahead of time, hey, we might be doing this, or we might be doing that, or you just go out and do it, and whatever happens, happens?
I think more of the latter. I think Yeah, I'm very like in my own life too, in my own like personal attitude, which I'm like the primary lyricist, which we've had a discussion lately of the three of us doing like a more collaborative kind of like instrumental
Mhm.
work and like things like that. But lyrically and just kind of thematically and like a spiritual sense of the band is kind of just um a what do you call it? Um kind of a belief that I have and I hold in my
Mhm.
own life, which is just like I'm gonna change the way I feel that I need to, and the music is gonna change the way we feel that it should. You're gonna be a
Mhm.
fan of it or you're not. I could warn you, but is that really gonna help? You know, so like we're just gonna drop it, and if you like it, great. If you don't, also fine.
Yeah.
Um, we obviously prefer praise, but if you're gonna shit talk, I mean, attention on the band is attention, so like it is what it is. And
Right.
yeah, we're just gonna write what we have fun on stage, and we have fun in the studio, we have fun in the car together, we have fun just going to restaurants together. You know, we're really friends. So
Mhm.
to me, like getting together and just being like, we enjoy the song is the most important part. If we wrote a pop song that was like nearly, you know, the 1975 esque and we liked it and we would put it out. If it was Slipknot heavy, we would put it out. You know what I mean? Like it's just however we feel um, best represents us and best represents our feelings at the time. So
Yeah, that's important too. It's, I mean, that speaks to your authenticity as an artist. I love when bands do switch it up because I do feel like they're being more real about where they are as people, and I want to know who they are as people. I mean, we know that as music nerds, we want to understand who they are as humans, what makes them tick, what made them write that lyric, or what made them play that note, what was going on in their life. We love behind the scenes moments like that. I'm so glad that the last Blink album was still pretty true to who they were, though. Like
yeah,
they did a great job. One more time, they did a great job of staying true to who Mark, Travis, and Tom are as people, but sort of updating it. I don't know how to describe it other than say it's what you would imagine when you think what modern Blink sounds like.
yeah,
And
100%
I thought they
agree.
did a great job.
I did too. Yeah. That's what I find is really important is to have these like really versatile kind of almost switching. I don't want to say switching subgenres, but making pop punk be a really open genre, like a very fluid. Like sometimes we're really fucking sad. Sometimes
Mhm.
I'm really like I'm gutturally yelling and we're gritty and whatever. And sometimes we're Samantha Song and she's a grudges kind of girl and it's just a catchy tune and it's about a girl. Like it's very basic shit. And I think just not holding myself really letting go of the like the idea of like cringing at yourself is has been really easy to
Yeah,
just be like, is it kind of whiny and poppy? Sure, but is it how I feel? Also, yes. You know, like those two truths can be true at the same time. And so I think establishing early, like, hey, we might morph and we might mess around and like we might get really heavy, we might get way less heavy. We might make an album that sounds exactly like the next album. Like we don't even know. We're gonna take it as we
right.
go. So yeah.
Got it. Talk to me about coming from South Florida too, because I think most of us have a just sort of like limited view of what the South Florida sound or what the various sounds could be. I mean, if you're a metalhead, you immediately might go to Cannibal Corpse or Death. If you're into rap, you're like Rick Ross. If you're into pop or Latin sound, you think Pitbull. Like it's sort of limited if you don't live in South Florida and don't know South Florida. What's going on in the scene today? How would you describe it in your area?
Gav, I talked a lot on the last one. You want to take? Do you have any
Yeah,
thoughts on this?
Yeah,
I want to
I
be generous here.
um dude, we got everything. We
yeah,
everything. If you can think of like the weirdest band that you can think of, put a South Florida spin on that, and it's even weirder. I mean, we have so many people just trying to push the scene right now.
hmm,
Just to name a couple, we have Senior Citizen. She's down in Miami. We have, Stage Mom. She pushes people. We have the 561 music podcast and the music fest.
hmm,
They push as many people. Like we have so many people here that just, if you write original music, that's really all. That's it. It it doesn't have
okay.
to be a certain genre. It doesn't have to be a certain audience, a certain age. Like
The
there's
community
no,
takes care of
yeah,
itself.
yeah. There's
It
no
sounds like.
requirements here. As long as you have an instrument, and even that's sometimes,
That's sometimes
relative.
optional. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, as long as you just have the drive. Yeah, it's pretty much, you know, you lift each other up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
don't.
you know,
Oh,
it's really fun too.
definitely. I was gonna add on to that and just say, yeah, I don't communicate too much with people that come from other states or like that we've met in other states, but I don't hear people talk about their music scene the way the like SoFlo music scene seems to be like super
Mm.
self-sufficient,
Yeah.
super driven to help each other. Like he's saying, the Stage Mom podcast, the 561 podcast, the Senior Citizen podcast, these are all different kinds of pods, and now like turning themselves into fests to allow like, hey, this was a guest on my podcast. If you like the episode, come see them. So
That's a
many
goal for
people.
me.
Yeah,
Like I would
yeah,
love to do that.
it's incredible. I
Yeah.
love that for you. I love that for them. I think it's great for the scene. It's great for music altogether. You know, radio and MTV and like all that is like really kind of gone away. The charts, like who really cares anymore? And now they've taken music off TikTok and they're taking away TikTok. So you gotta like, someone has to keep music alive in some way. It can't just be record labels.
Yeah.
And so we have to
Right.
just kind of band together. And yeah, everyone that we know, like we've opened for them, they've opened for us. We take the middle slot, we take the 2 a.m. slot, like whatever. You do what you got to do. I would say that Gavin's right that it's super versatile, but like the rock scene here is, I mean, it's crazy. Like everyone, there's
Yeah.
female fronted and there's mixed gendered bands. There's all this like super heavy, super light, ready for radios, so heavy and dark. You're like, I don't even know who I could show this to. There's so much weird shit, like Gavin said. And it's just a great, like, there's something for everyone. If you were like, I need to move to a specific part of a state that has a music scene that's like big enough for me to go to something every weekend, you could come straight to South Florida from West Palm Beach to like Miami. There is something for you here. So it's a great
Beautiful.
scene.
No, I love the sound of that. And I want to expand on the TikTok thing too, because that's going to be a challenge that a lot of musicians are going to have to navigate now. At the time that we're talking, we don't know what's going to go on with TikTok, but we're hearing a lot about the ban. Or we don't know what the next steps are with that are going to be, if there's going to be restrictions. We don't know where that's going to go. So I think I would imagine if I were a musician, if I was a band, if I was up and coming and wanted to get my shit out there, that would just light a fire under me to be on a bunch of different platforms and not put all my eggs into one basket, so to speak. How do you think you guys are going to navigate life without TikTok potentially if it gets there?
I will say, I think our Instagram has been more successful than our TikTok anyways. It feels like,
Got it.
so we have that kind of like prepared, I guess. And it is funny because we just had a band discussion about how much more content we need to be pumping out. So like we're coming in at a funny time because they're kind of like, hey, within a year, TikTok's gone. They're like, we should get on TikTok now. Like, you know, we picked a funny time for it. But yeah, I mean, it's like you said, I think just navigating it without putting all your eggs in one basket and just kind of trying to, like, TikTok didn't even exist. Like no one was even doing this kind of stuff like 5 years ago. Right. So you have to kind of
Right.
just like see what comes next. Like Gavin said before we started, like something else will come up. Like we'll figure it out. You know, we'll, whatever you, like you said, Threads, maybe. I mean, if Threads is the big thing, like we'll be
Who
on it. You know what I
knows?
mean? Yeah.
Who
Maybe
knows?
MySpace makes a crazy comeback that no one sees coming. You know what I mean?
That would make my little emo heart so happy. Let me tell you, no, I was the weird girl that was raw XOXO glitter
Oh no.
backgrounds. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We were a scene kid with, Helena and trying to do the dance in the video. Oh, listen, it was
Incredible.
real. It was
Incredible.
real. It was on another level. I mean, and then we got more into the metal world after that, but
Yeah, that
I
seems
still
to.
I still bumped My Chemical Romance. I celebrated when they came back a few years ago. I
Saw
was
them.
like,
I saw them in
did you?
2022. They're
How
incredible.
was it? Did you enjoy
It,
it?
so I saw them in 2011 with Blink-182, which was like craziest concert for me because how much I love
Dream
both of them.
lineup. Yeah.
And I will say honestly, in 2022 they sounded better than they did 10 years ago. They are so tight,
Wow.
so like he just sounds incredible. The guitars are great. Like they open with their newest song, and I thought that was bold, and it's just all of it. It's like a time capsule back into being like 12 years old, 10 years old for me. Like just seeing that, so it was a great show.
Beautiful. We were all so ready for it too. We all
Yeah,
wanted that. As soon as we saw
100%.
those little like posts, I think from the studio, or those little like notes that they were putting on
The little
Instagram,
teasers, yeah,
I know the little deal. We were like, something's happening, something's happening. And then we
yeah.
were like, yes.
Let's go. Absolutely.
We were like, yes, we got what we wanted. What have you been listening to lately, just in general, either of you or both of you?
Man, so much Pierce the Veil.
Yes.
Dude, you don't understand.
Eric is so nice. I met him, a couple of years. This is like 2017 when they were when they were sort of putting
Yeah.
their stuff first out there. And we just bullshit about Rick and Morty for like half an hour. It was great. He like
That's awesome. Um, I've been listening to just like whatever. I really like a really underrated feature that I don't hear anyone talk about on Spotify for Spotify users is Discover Weekly. I
Oh
fucking
yes.
adore Discover Weekly because I'll have a week where I like 3 of the 30 songs. I'm like, this is kind of shit. And then I had a week like 2 or 3 weeks ago where I liked all 30 of them. I added them to a playlist and it's just like, I don't know if it's just me, like it's like a For You page kind of setup where I'm getting just cool stuff that I already like. And it's just kind of branching off that, but I'm just getting stuff
Yeah.
from different years, different genres, weird, like indie folk stuff, rap, weird, like metal, like, unlistenably heavy like songs. And I'm like, I can't do this. And pop punk bands that I never heard. And so it's really cool. I go through a lot of waves where I have like a comfort band that's like the root, and then I like branch off for like a month. Um, once a year I have like a really big like 1975 phase. I have a really big story so far phase, and then I get obsessed with someone else, and then I kind of slide back, and we just and then whenever there's a concert coming up, I listen to them for like a month straight.
Yeah,
So
that's
like,
me. That's me with Better Lovers right now because I'm about to go see them, and I'm like, oh, okay, we need
that's
to
gonna be good.
read it. We need to redo. We need to refresh.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe
So
even throw some old Dillinger.
me and Gab are seeing Blink with Pierce the Veil in the summer, so I'll be listening to those two bands exclusively for months.
That's awesome. Another underrated Spotify tip: the day list in the made for you section. The titles that they have for these day lists, oh my god,
great.
they're hysterical. They'll be like early Tuesday morning grunge whale song, just because I had like 2 Gojira songs in there somehow or whatever. And I love Gojira, but the way that they title it is so funny. I love those.
I love that system. It's really great. And the DJ system's not bad either, that it picks like a song you've never heard and your like favorites. Like Spotify does a lot of cool innovative shit that maybe doesn't always hit, but I'm happy they care to try.
Yeah, that's important. It definitely is. So I know you've been busy touring lately too, or at least Instagram tells me that you have, or somewhat recently been. You were touring at some pretty legendary venues, I might add, the Whiskey, the Viper Room. Tell me about tour. Tell me about that. How that had to be fun.
Yeah, that was back in January. It's so crazy. A family member just asked me this, and I had to, like, when I said it again, I was like, oh yeah, that's right. Our first out of Florida show was Whiskey A Go Go, which is crazy. Like,
who can say that?
I know. I'm like, has anyone done that before? Like, that seems so wild. And yeah, our very second out of state show was Viper Room, 2-3 days later. So yeah, that was back in January, and it was, I mean, on New Year's Day, left the state, drove straight to LA, 50 hours, didn't stop to, like, people slept in the car. Like, we didn't stop to sleep. We drove straight because New Year's was what, I think on a Sunday. So we had to be there to perform on Wednesday night. We had to be in Whiskey A Go Go to perform. So we're like, all right, well, someone drive, like, so
let's go.
Big long shifts. And but yeah, all of tour, and I'll let Gav speak to this as well, but just like such incredible memories. Like I've never felt so like the 10-year-old in me that picked up a guitar because of Tom DeLonge was like, we did it. Like, if I go back home and never play a show again, like, I toured once, like, that's what I wanted. That's all I've like craved. And seeing the different states with like the mountains and Texas and the desert and like all of it, it was so cool. Definitely the biggest test of patience of my sanity probably ever. I mean, like, we lived in a 12-person van with 7 people, you know what I mean?
Oh god.
Like, it was a lot. And
yeah,
really, honestly, no fighting, and the van never had any issues, which is like the biggest things I was looking out for.
Wow, that's really lucky. I always hear those horror stories about van issues.
I was expecting it the whole time. I'm like, we're gonna break down somewhere. Like, it's
what's crazy? I don't think I ever told you guys this, but when we got into LA and we started hitting those hills, I felt the transmission bump a couple times, and I was like, I'm not saying anything, because if I say something, the van's exploding.
Because if I say something, it's just gonna start a fight.
I kept that inside for like 5 months.
The truth always comes out, doesn't it, Gav?
We're all sweaty. We're all hungry. Sight, sound, and smells. We're done with this. And on top of that, the damn transmission. I'm not going to say a word.
Yeah.
Like, this is a powder keg.
I'm glad you didn't, Gav. Thank you.
I saved us. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Well, Gavin, do you echo a lot of the same sentiments? It was enjoyable for you too?
No, it sucked. No, I'm just kidding. No, it genuinely the best experience of my life. if somebody came to me right now and said, "Hey, pack your bags, you're going on tour right now," I'd say, "Okay, yeah, cool. I gotta cut this interview short. Sorry." Um,
Bye.
yeah, I would do it every day for the rest of my life. It's genuinely the most fun thing I've ever done in my life. One of the most challenging, definitely, but it's just one of those things where like it's really hard to explain to somebody that, doesn't isn't in a band, doesn't perform, doesn't do something like that, because I can tell you that I had the absolute worst day of my life. And the van, I mean, absolutely no hate to Texas or anybody that lives in
I got
Texas,
you.
but that drive was the worst drive of my life, start to
Because it was
finish.
boring.
Texas, yeah, it was like 18
Mm.
hours because we took the
Oh,
worst route through Texas. And I fell asleep at one point. I woke up and we were still in Texas. We got lunch. We were still in Texas. Like, it was there was too much Texas. There was way too much Texas. But then at the end of the day, we get on stage and all of that just melts away. And you know, it's 100% worth it as soon as we hit that first note as a band.
yeah. I definitely feel that. Is there anywhere else you would like to play that maybe you haven't yet?
Yeah, I mean
Um,
we oh sorry, but we talked about like the immediate thought as tour was ending going West Coast was like, okay, we already are in Florida, let's go up East Coast. So I would love to
yeah,
do New
Yeah.
York, Jersey, Boston.
yep,
Um
all of it.
and that would be like one tour. I mean, I'm also aiming like I'd love to do Chicago like as soon as financially and physically doable. Like, you
Right.
know,
Yeah,
to play every single state would be a goal of mine. Just to say we did it would be awesome. So yeah,
Minneapolis, maybe. I
yeah.
promise it's not as nasty and cold as it is most of the year.
Hey, even
Like,
if
we
it is,
we
even if
actually
it is, we'll be there.
we
So
actually have a contact in Minneapolis, Dylan. We got
okay.
we got a
nice.
yeah, we got a band that I've been talking to up there. I saw them years ago and DM'd them, a couple months
Hmm.
ago, and they responded, and I was like, "Oh, okay. Cool.
Th-
Thanks for
That's
responding."
the Minnesota scene is pretty collaborative. I've learned that here. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm not in Minneapolis. I'm in Rochester, which is like on the plains. It's like Laura Ingalls Wilder, Little House on the Prairie. It's 1838. Like not a whole lot going on, but except for the hospital, which
What a
is.
reference, by the way.
I mean, to put it in perspective, that's where I was like, I need to be specific to give them that
Sure.
image in their head. But like that there's not a lot going on around here. But it's only an hour away from Minneapolis. So a lot of the time, if I want to see a
Yeah.
show, I go to Minneapolis. But
Hmm.
even in the Rochester music scene itself, it is pretty collaborative, which is nice. It is like there's the problem we have here is there just aren't enough venues to play. There's two that I can think of that would fit a
Yeah.
band comparable to you guys.
Right.
And otherwise, it's this huge convention center that's rented out for like political conferences or medical conferences, and it's never used for concerts, which I don't get. It like never is. We had Hailstorm there once, and that was it. And I
Huh.
was like, I mean, that was great. Like, I love Lizzie, and I was like, let's go. I want to support that. I want more of that in my city, so let me buy the ticket. But other than that, we just have like two small bars that I can think of that even nurture the scene,
Yeah.
for lack of a better term at all. So everybody else pretty much takes care of themselves and they'll set up their own jam at their own garage, or they'll have a house party, or
Yeah.
they know the guy that owns a local coffee shop and they'll play there every other Saturday or something like that. So there is the element of helping each other out, but I definitely wish that there was like more going on, more
Yeah, like
venues, more opportunities.
yeah, and that's what I'm really grateful about that with South Florida is there's a good amount of places you can go as long as you're
Yeah.
willing to drive and play.
Hmm.
Then yeah, there's always like a spot. But
Yeah.
that
And
sucks.
honestly,
That
if
sucks. I'm sorry to hear that for you guys.
dude, Florida's
It,
the way, like, if there isn't a spot, I mean, I've seen bands like put up a poster and be like, "Hey, we're playing a parking garage tonight at,
yeah.
FAU or whatever." Like, they'll set up wherever they need to. They don't like bands down here don't care.
No,
They'll
it's
just
getting
play
to
until they get kicked out.
well, that's what I'm saying. It's getting to the point where we might have to do that if we want to, or,
Yeah.
nurture any kind of scene at all. Minneapolis, they're a little bit more lucky. They've got a little more knowledge, a few more options
Yeah.
up there. And they know that the rest of the state will drive to them because, I mean, Minnesota's pretty sizable, but it's not impossible to get to Minneapolis within a day from
Yeah.
Mhm.
most points of the state. So we'll see how it evolves. But I mean, especially in the winter, like there's definitely guys helping each other out, load in, load out at the end of the night. check on
That's great.
everybody's merch. Somebody's standing there watching the vans while they're loading in or whatever, just to make sure things don't get weird or people don't take anything. But
That's nice.
That is one
You
thing
need that
about
sense of
tour.
community. Oh, sorry, go.
yeah.
My fault. That is one thing about tour as just a bunch of, born and raised Florida boys. The cold killed us.
Yeah,
It was ridiculous. And it was only like, it wasn't even that cold. It was like maybe 40s and 50s. I think it dipped to like
oh,
the lowest we got was like, I think 28, which
okay.
for us is like, we're on the brink of death.
Yeah, don't come here come here between May and October then, and you'll be fine.
Yeah,
No.
mind you that where we live, it gets absolutely as cold here as like 60. Like that's as cold as it'll physically get where we live.
Yeah.
So for 28 was like, that was a big hit for us.
Yeah. Below
Warm-blooded.
0 multiple weeks in January is not uncommon. It's
I got out of the van and could not breathe. It was ridiculous.
you just layer up. You layer up and you make it happen. And a lot of that time, I think a lot of Minnesota musicians end up spending a lot of that time writing those winter months.
Yeah.
And then by spring, by summer, they're ready and they try to hit it as hard as they can with the time that they do have. What's next for Young Fiction though? What can we look forward to? What's on the way?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're gonna do a little hibernating ourselves to just write. We've got a couple like local shows here. We want to plan out another tour so that we can, it's all DIY. So it's just getting the money and the time, the venues together, the bands that we can play with together. But yeah, writing, we're gonna focus a lot of that, like the TikTok content, the Instagram reel content, like a lot of that, try and push that out, just market ourselves a little better. And yeah, I mean, we just had like a pretty major lineup change, so it's like we're kind of pivoting from that and trying to stay as creative and as driven with all that. I'm on something. Sorry.
Okay.
A lot of personal space issues in this home sometimes.
There's a reason why this isn't live. It's okay.
But yeah, so just staying as
your dog is
on
cute.
that. Thank you. She's got a current little injury, so.
Oh, what happened?
She has a torn tendon in her back leg, I think.
Oh, she just got too excited in the yard someday or something.
Yeah, we don't even really know, but she's just, I think it happens to that breed. It's just,
Oh. Okay.
Lost my train of thought. Yeah, just trying to stay driven and focused and just write as much as possible. And we had a funny conversation at this the last like kind of band meet we had, where Gavin was like, we just need to be like, our songs are all good, we just need to get comfortable writing like shitty songs so that we can just like get through the shit and then make the best song out of that possible. Like, okay, this didn't work, this did, and then like this, like song A was okay here, song B was okay here, so we made a better song C out of those two, like doing that. And yeah, so I think just switching up our writing process to be more collaborative instrumentally and lyrically and thematically, and then coming together, the three of us, and being like, okay, what do we got going on? What's the best way we can do this? And then we have a really big catalog of songs as well that are already like I have a ton of lyrics that I've never touched. I have a ton of melodies that I haven't touched. So just bringing it to them, seeing what we can do, and then going from there. Gab, if you want to go on that.
Yeah, I mean, you touched on most of it. It's just mostly writing right now. Obviously, with that lineup change, I don't want to say a lot's gonna change, but we're not gonna be the same. I mean, you never are.
That's natural
with the lineup change. So I think we're just gonna write as much as possible, get comfortable in the space where we're at now, and when we come back, we're gonna come back slightly different, and like we were saying earlier, maybe some people like it, maybe some people don't, but we're just gonna send it and do whatever feels right for us, and have fun while doing it, hopefully.
Just send it and watch the socials for what's next. That's what I'm hearing too, because it's gonna be there.
Instagram is where we're most active, so definitely.
I will say TikTok is in a really weird place right now.
Yeah,
where it's a good opportunity for small bands because of that weird. They took off almost all major songs off major labels like a couple months ago.
The UMG deal.
So the only thing left is smaller artists. So I mean, until TikTok gets banned, push small artists. That's well, you don't have to compete with Kanye anymore. I mean, that's a good thing, I
Beyonce,
guess.
Taylor Swift. Yeah.
Yeah.
It actually is like, yeah, it's a pretty big clearing out of competition where you're
Yeah.
trying to like compete with like those kind of artists. Yeah, we should definitely work on that. Like, we got to take advantage of that while we still can.
That's insightful. That's good for anybody listening too. I love
Yeah.
it. Well, we definitely can't wait to see what's next. Thank you both for being here. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for having us. We really, really appreciate it. So thank you.